We're going to stay a little bit high level, unfortunately, on this one because we are still even in advance of beta. There are a couple things, though, that I will say about FlashRay. And it goes back to the question that was raised also about, others have come out to market with all-flash operating systems designed from the ground up to work with SSD faster than NetApp has been out there. And from our standpoint internally, we took a stance of, all right, when we come out with an all-flash array OS, we want to make sure that it has all the goodness of ONTAP. It's not just going to be snapshots and replication like a number of vendors have released, or maybe snapshots or replication. We wanted the complete ball of wax, if you will, in there. And that takes time. So we've had, call it, I don't even want to give a specific number of years here, but we have had a team, an advanced group team that's been working on building an actual OS from the ground up so that we could provide that to the market. And what's interesting today is that we found, from a deal standpoint, when we win deals in the space today, is there are a number of flash operating systems that have been released that are really great when they start off, but then they smoke out. They actually start to fall apart after a certain period of time at being in runtime. So for us, it's also a big QA component. When you get to be a $6 billion company, they don't just let you go throw something into the market without doing a lot of QA. So this is actually something that's been going on in-house for a while now, built off of the foundation of ONTAP, and actually built by the original developers of ONTAP to make sure that the functionality is the same, the stability is the same. Don't worry. We'll make sure that we actually pull you back in. So as we go forward with this product, this is definitely something that as we get towards the end of the summer, you'll see a lot more information come out as we get towards the end of the year. This will be a time we bring you back in and we want to really talk to you about exactly what the deep nuts and bolts of this actually are. At a high level, though, I do think it's important to say that from an IOPS and from a consistent latency standpoint, that's obviously table stakes here, one of the things that we're pushing against, as well as one of the things that our developers are pushing on is not only how do we get a high-speed system out the door, but how can we make sure that the performance and the latency stays high even when deduplication, compression are running. So actually one of the out-the-door requirements for us is to make sure that that performance stays up even as these extra functionality components are enabled and running. It will actually be a clustered architecture, just like you see with clustered data ONTAP today, and it will include quality of service components that you'll see in our 7 mode and is actually coming in the next generation of our clustered data ONTAP component system as well. So it will have that ability to auto-balance and make sure that we actually deliver a consistent quality of service for specific workloads. In addition to that, it will be multi-protocol. It will have replication and snapshots as well as you might come to expect, and it will also have application integration. So one of the things that we're looking at here as well is how do we take all the goodness that we have from our snap managers that are integrated into these different application consoles, like SQL, like VMware, and how do we actually push that and make sure it's consistent and works with this product as well. So again, this is more a look to the future. It's going to feel a lot like ONTAP, but designed again from the ground up specifically for SSD because we know there's only so far that you can do with an operating system that's designed first and foremost to disk. And even though we've got a great flash abstraction layer that's actually built into ONTAP, this has to be the next generation of where we go. So coming back to that one, in the future as we get closer to
you're
GA.
saying that there's going to be the same protocols and APIs for snap integration?
Yeah, that is the goal, yeah.
Okay. Goal, which means might not be in version 1.0. Okay.
1.0 is 1.0, right?
Exactly.
If I could bundle 18 years worth of development and boil it into 1.0, then that'd be where we want to be.
I think John's got a spare time machine.
Exactly. So finally, to wrap this up, obviously as we discussed, Flash is a key component of storage design. It's a critical component of everything that we do today. You can modify an operating system today to make sure that you get as much benefit as possible from Flash as a caching layer, but really that next generation is where are we going to go with solid state disk from the ground up. From an implementation standpoint, again, one of the reasons that we have a broad spectrum of things, we're not focusing on just one product. We have development areas focused on lots of different areas, is because today customers need a broad range of things. We can't necessarily go in and say, this is your panacea. One pill will fix all of your problems. And so as we move forward, we're going to maintain a complete portfolio of offerings to make sure we have exactly what customers need. And we'll continue to extend density, the different SSD types that we support as the market makes them available. So again, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank Skip and Alex for their time as well and going through the presentation. And if there are any other questions, feel free to feed it to us now or via Twitter, and we'll make sure to get the handle. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No zingers to start now that we've...
So,
I'm restraining myself.
does anyone have any more questions? Or should we,
Well, with one thing with the FlashXL persistence, when you actually do a storage relocation happens from one aggregate to another on the same system, does that?
So currently with FlashXL, if you migrate from one VM to another in the server, the cache doesn't go along with it. That's something that we're working on for
Okay, all right.
future release. So part of, Lauren asked about 5.1 support, and then along with that same release, we're looking at full storage vMotion, support DRS, VMware HA. So there's a package of multiple things we're adding. So kind of focus for more robust VMware environment, and then we'll start to move on to other hypervisors and other guest OSs. And even physical server support too. Maybe one thing I'll just add on the FlashRay. So part of the design is not just around performance, but minimizing the writes to flash, right? So you maximize the useful life and don't overwear. So that's the reason for doing deduplication and compression in line, right? So write it once, it's down there, and you don't have to play with it after that. So that's the attitude that's the approach that's being taken in the architecture. So efficient in terms of how we write from both a performance standpoint and a reliability, longevity standpoint.
How are you licensing FlashXL?
So there's you can download it onto the server. It only works with ONTAP. So there's no charge for it.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so as long as you have an active Now account, go in, grab it.
yep.
Got it.
Hard to beat free. Did you say anything about FlashRay architecture? Scale out, scale up, capacities, that kind of thing? Unfortunately, the phone rang.
No, it's definitely a scale-out architecture, so it's going to be modeled off of exactly what we're doing with Data ONTAP today. The node limits, will vary. It's 1.0, so I don't know exactly what that'll look like initially out the door, but definitely scale out and scale up.
Yeah, I mean, the architecture, there'll certainly be multiple releases, as you said, and everything won't be there in the first release. But the idea is this is not a point, it's not architecture designed for a point solution. It's, we see Flash as a significant component, storage media of the future. I think you heard yesterday, Flash for performance, but maybe Flash makes sense for capacity as well. And the way I look at it is, if you've got reference or archival type storage, if you're writing it once and reading it to some degree, I mean, the advantages, the power advantages, and at some point there may be density advantages from using solid state storage versus what spinning media can do. And that's a ways out. On high performance drives, the capacity equivalence is just about there. So what you can get out of a 10K 2.5 RPM drive from a capacity, so the biggest drives today are 900 gig, and there's probably 1.2 terabyte drives maybe ship later this year. And
Quickly.
SSDs, EMLC SSDs are about the same capacity at about the same time. Capacity drives, 4 terabytes today, 5 and 6 on the horizon. It'll take a little while longer, but
Yeah, but 2
Get there.
terabyte flash drives are here, so the actual can I get them in the slot capacity issue isn't there. It's the cost capacity.
yeah. So I think it will happen. Been in this industry for 30 plus years, dealing with hard drives from the beginning, or DASD from the beginning, I should say, even well before hard drives, and it's just they've had a long run, but rotating magnetic media, won't be here forever.
Yeah, but I think its demise is like tape, right? You know, I was a tape SE, I was admin at Dell, and tape's not going away, right? It's going to be out there. So spinning disk will not go anywhere anytime soon. As a matter of fact, right, there's talk about what's a cloud hard drive look like, you know? So
Right, we start talking about things like shingled writes, where it's like, it only works for sequential access, but pretty soon, all disk drives are going to be good for is sequential access anyway.
exactly.
Yeah, so, yeah, since, you know, does it ever go away completely? It gets repurposed for elsewhere in the stack, right?
How competitive are you guys going to try to be with FlashRay compared to the pricing of the startup competitors?
I can't talk about pricing, but certainly, you know, we intend to compete toe to toe with those
On
guys.
price
You know,
or
where
features
in the markets and the type of customers that we see are important to our business, you know, we're going to fight for that business.
So-
Absolutely.
I mean, there will obviously be a premium based on feature set, right? But we do want to stay in line with where the market is. I mean, it's no secret, right, that NetApp is not Dell storage. You know, we don't price there. That's not the game we're in because we have a lot of value-added features built into the stack. But at the same time, I mean, don't look to us to come out like PlayStation 4, right? We're not going to go up at an extremely high price. We're going to play in line with the market and where they're at, and you know, we'll differentiate on feature set.
Okay, thanks.
I was just thinking that you use the Xbox.
What is it, Xbox 720? Did they say what it was?
I don't know.
Yeah.
The name company offered yet, but they're going crazy at that too. Always on, requires an internet.
720, is that the
So it's
resolution
only
or the
going to
price?
sell into the developed countries. I mean,
Both.
Yeah.
That's convenient. I like that they're mapping pixels to dollars. It's great.
720 out the door, and your video games will cost $100 a pop. Thank you very much.
I think they're going for the subscription model, where
Yeah.
Where you're lucky to get off with $100.
Xbox is coming out with their own hybrid FlashRay,
yeah,
and
which works so well for Microsoft Flight. 3 months on the market, pulled it back.
It's like filling your tank with your car with gas. Just watch the heater run. So, what else is on your mind that we?
We need more information on FlashRay, basically.
Yeah, not while the cameras are rolling.
Yeah, more will be coming down the pipe. I mean, the development team is very far along. It's just a matter of time now before the details start coming out.
Where is cache queue in all this region? You got a cache queue?
Yes, we did. So one thing we're looking at is that as to use that to help customers with file migration between non-NetApp systems into NetApp systems, between NetApp systems, for example, or 7 mode to clustered on tap. That's one area. I think as a product, we're not really looking at it as a product, but more as an enabler from a tool standpoint.
Yep.
I think.
And it's interesting, right? When that company was picked up, immediately people were thinking, okay, there's going to be a new product that comes out within the space, and boom, that's where we're going to go with it. And it turned out that the IP was extremely well suited towards service migrations, for professional service implementations, and for us, that was the bigger play. So that's where it's getting pushed right now. Now, does that mean that's where it's going to always be forever? Probably not, but that's the initial big win for us in terms of how we actually get some leverage off of that.